Alright, this is Yet Again Unto the Breach turn 44 as Nazca, and as you can see from the zoomed out map, we have a lot going on. So give me a moment, I'll break it down, and we'll go through our thinking on each of the fronts as normal. And then maybe we do a roundup of deployments at the end. But first, events list. So we received a couple more items from Ulm. I paid him the gems for these as normal. The wing shoes are there to, as usual, equip our humanoid mages with the ability to keep up with our armies, so we can keep that fire and nature and water support that we've been talked about and have been using to great effect so far. And we also received an Iron Face. That's going straight on my god to protect him from any misfortune events or any other events that might go his way that force him into combat. Should bring him up to around protection 30 or so. But we might pull it off him to put on a Koya we recruit eventually to use as a remote raider. Transporting units, blah blah blah, a whole host of battles which we'll go through in a moment. Series of unexpected events, got some nature gems, plague cults which we're trying to hunt down, barbarian horde attack, local sect. These are all just a series of terrible events, but not terrible, just annoying events that we're mostly being able to overcome. Now this one scared me. Okay, so this is a random attack on a scout. And the reason this is absolutely terrifying is because this is a gem carrier. So he was carrying pretty much I think this is a full load of the maximum number of gems to keep our army stocked. He was attacked by 4 brigands. They shoot at him. He jumps. Now he should lose this fight. He should absolutely lose this fight. But he jumps in and he just king hits one in the head. Done. They swing and they miss. He hits again. Hits this guy with a quarterstaff. Hits this guy with a quarterstaff. This guy's got battle fright now, so his morale is dropping to 6, and you can see where this is going. The other brigands run. So it's only the brigand leader at this point. He hasn't taken a wound yet. Only 11 attack, 10 defense. But he takes these guys out, and they run. So that event could have cost us, 25 gems. That would have been pretty bad. And then the costs. Okay, so we'll deal with the happy stuff first, which is the Calum front, and then we'll go talk about Ermor and our experimentation up there and what did work, what didn't, what we're going to do about it. So, in the Calum sort of sphere, a couple of things happen. The first thing is Machaka has started to move in. So Machaka has 1 stack here in Faran, 1 stack besieging Azimar. GC said he was going to do this, that he's going to move in and occupy chunks of Calum, and that's perfectly fine by me. We can see that Smokey the Carrion Bear is moving up a large force. I presume this is probably his primary army here in Jomei. Will be interesting to see next turn if there is a bump here. Not sure whether I hope there is or not at this point, mostly because I'm not sure whether GC is beginning to plot flipping on me. Like I've said in previous turns, he's been talking about the point where eventually he'll have to come after me. I just really hope that isn't soon. So if he gets entangled with Asphodel, that's perfectly fine. Calum is now reduced to just a couple of provinces around here. We're obviously besieging Calum, but we didn't crack it. So if we look here, battle in Calum. Yep, so we lost 1 Huron, we lost 10 Hatun Runa and an Apu to kill a large sort of group of province defense. And I'm going to assume what happened here is I didn't have appropriate bodyguards on my mages, and one got killed by the drop, because of course they're birds just like me. So yep, our guys all go up, because, and there he goes, yep. So the reason we're launching attacks straight away is because we wanted to avoid Storm if the AI was patrolling, but obviously we probably should have kept some guys on hold. So that's a loss of a non-geared Huron Priest, which is annoying, but he'll respawn, that's ultimately fine. We've broken the fortress here at 83, and we will be storming that this turn. We're going to continue sieging Calum, but we'll preach with the person who we don't need to break the fort, just to start working on this Dominion. I mean, it'll all disappear at the point where Calum loses the last of its territory, but I don't see a reason not to preach for the moment. Our Sepias took 67 and 50, so let's have a quick look at those. Not sure if there was anything here. Yep, so this was just held by barbarians last turn. And as usually happens, summon Earth Power, cast Iron Skin, That means that he blessed late. So not all of our Sacrets would have been blessed in that case. We're lucky that a lot of them were, but they've got so many experience stars at this point that even if they weren't blessed, they'd have great stats. But blessed, 18 attack, 21 defense, like 18 damage. Tell me that's not serious. So of course we get a full surround, and it's just a complete massacre. So great. I don't believe there are any significant losses there. Here, this is a 45 income province that was previously held, I believe, by Ermor. Yep. Here, it's just human PD. So he's invested some gold in some human PD here. We have our Huron Throwdown double blessing because he got the larger group of Supaya. Bang, I think he got pretty much everyone, he usually does, and this is going to be the same thing we've seen every turn for a while now. They drop. This time I had them drop closest just to avoid risks to the Huron, and because I'm confident about their performance against PD without assassinating the commander. So they just grind their way through everything. Done. So these were easy takes. That's 39 income, 45 income, 1 fire, and then just Merman recruitment. So yeah, all right. Most importantly, we denied a little bit of income to Ermor, and Ermor doesn't have much income to begin with. We took a fire gem. Like, I'm happy. Calem's cracking. We're bringing in more reinforcements. We've geared up our Nature Mage, who's still carrying her Lightless Lantern. So really, I should return that to a lab at some point. That's an oversight. She's coming into Calem so that by the time we do the final storming, we'll be able to have a mass protection caster. We're moving up some reinforcement mages, but the reality is if we're going to gear them, we'll gear them once we take Calem and its lab. So I'm not worried too much about them at this point. Reinforcements are mostly a series of Hatun Runa moving in from the patrol groups, who I'm also, going to, as usual, reinforce from the forts as they replenish. But we're basically just pulling what we have available forward. Also, Punchao. So we're bringing in Ninka, a small group of sacred reinforcements. So not a huge amount by the standards of what we have, but most importantly, someone who's carrying some gems. So we'll have some spell casting ability. In reality, we're probably going to take the lab at Calem first. But he'll be there, so if we want to try our luck with some fire magic or some earth magic, he'll be equipped. So if we want to... Oh, I guess Tutor Kapak's got enough anyway. But I knew I had some other Hurons around here that might need the gems. So those gems are coming in with some reinforcements, and next turn we'll storm with, 110 Sacreds and some chaff. Nothing wrong with that. So we're going to continue the Calem front. We're going to grab 63. I don't think Smokey will go there. I think he'll retake this and probably go there. I don't think he's going to risk fanning out and contacting me here. I might mention that to Smokey at some point. I'm going to take these two Ermor provinces. Not that I expect anyone to be alive there, but there may be gems that I want to deny, and it brings my forces closer to the northern flank of Ermor, which is really one of the empty areas at the moment. So that's the Calem front. Everything is going perfectly well. But let's talk about the Ermorian front. So as usual, let's break it up into groups. So Chenchi has their big army here at 306. That's promising. I'm hoping they'll move forward if they've got full supplies, and we'll find out. We'll see that battle, and we'll see what is in it again, and get an idea of what sort of mage support he brought. Shinoyama still hasn't killed Bogus. I guess they don't want to blow units on one province. But I've talked to Shinoyama. I'm going to be with them through thick and thin, and they basically said, look, hold these provinces, continue fighting Ermor, just give us some time to research some counters before we get back into the fight. I have said take 303. I think there's still population there, even though it's a wasteland, and there might be gems too, and there's no reason for them not to deny it to Ermor. So in the eastern part of the front, what happened last turn is we moved on top of the fort. So we jumped over because we figured this is an area that's probably going to be vulnerable, and we encountered only PD, and we did what we always do when we encounter PD. We blessed up because we don't have an Inca present, so this is sort of a hobo attack group. We jumped in and we killed all the skeletons. And as you can see, as always, the Hardened Runner, especially the ones with experienced stars, they can kill Long Dead. They can absolutely kill Long Dead because they do blunt damage, they don't have the PS resistant come into play. They do a good job. We retook Griffer, which, look, it's not major, but it does seal him off from the water and hopefully does Ys a favour. And we did this using just chaff, and we encountered a reasonable amount of chaff. We did our usual, one group jumps closest to block for the commander and one group drops rear. These guys dropped on the crossbow PD and started slapping them. The guys who jumped closest jumped on the mixture of ghouls and light infantry. They're having a harder time. But ultimately, I think we brought the numbers to rout them and make this fight our own. Now, we did have some retreats. So if we have a look at Griffa quickly, battling Griffa. So we lost 38 Hatun Runa, and we lost another 20 on retreat. So 58 Hatun Runa. So do I care about 58 Hatun Runa? Not a jot. My generation rate is way up there. Let's have a look at that quickly. Army size, yeah, look. Yeah. So we took some losses last turn, but we're continuing with some quite rapid army generation. Despite that, so I'm going to keep throwing the slaves away. Plus, it helps contain this this upkeep, which is getting to me. So next turn, we'll continue to siege here. We'll deploy more Hatun groups to reinforce Griffa and to hopefully take Shem. Continuing to put pressure on sort of this Ashdod front. So let's move over. What happened over here? In Hyperboche, so 255. Now, I didn't attempt to defend this because I didn't know whether he was going to send a full stack. He outthought me. He only sent a tiny stack. So my patrolling Indie Commander and his PD just weren't a match for those sort of numbers. And he took that and he denied me my Copper Idol and Enchanted Tomb. So I'm going to retake that this turn with a Hutton group, which will handle this. If he sends in reinforcements, he sends in reinforcements. Let's talk about the big one. So you'll remember last turn I set a trap at Mir. And the idea was to drop in 2 geared Huron Priests. So this is about a 30, 40, maybe even 50 gem investment. And drop Wind of Death and then retreat. Now, I had set those Hatun Runa to jump closest. They jumped rear. I don't know why. I'll go back and check the turn again, but I'm pretty sure I scripted them. Now, we did bait gem use, so we got, oh yay, he used 5 gems, but watch. He's about to, before we can retreat because there's no blockers, kill both our geared Hunters. So that's 50 gems that just went. 50 gems. Now, of course, that now processes. So the tactic works. The tactic does kill things. If you look at the Battle of Mir, we lost 2 Huron Priests, but what's really hurts here is their gear, because obviously they'll mummify and come back. But we lost 2 Staves, some pen items, and I think 8 Death Gems each. Now, for that, he lost 3 Sages, each carrying a Pearl. He lost a Jade Sorcerer carrying some gems, and he fired off, I think, 5 or 6 gems worth of battle magic. He also lost, like, a bunch of chaff. So our idea here was to thin out the army and kill these sages, because they're a clear and present danger to our communions, which are the thing that allow us to engage this army head on. So all in all, this was a bad engagement. Not terrible, but a bad engagement. The only reason this is acceptable is because we have completely asymmetric gem incomes at this point. Like, we're making 21 death gems a turn, so we'll recover. We had close to 300, now we have 200 once we've geared out and transported and built a whole bunch of items. But our death gem total will recover, and we'll need that if GC does come after us and we have to overcast his Well of Misery, we'll need that. We attempted the same trick here in Oaklands. And here the problem was Quickness Bless on this titanic group of cavalry. And he had so many cavalry that really the blockers weren't enough. Now, and also that here the script was Wind of Death times 2, because we were confident that the blockers would be enough to hold for a while. It wasn't, obviously, so between that and the other battle, close to 60 gems. This one was much less geared. He only had enough for his cast. He didn't have any pen items or anything like that. But still, now we baited Foul Vapors and Wailing Winds from them, so we only lost, 3 gems for every one of theirs. And there go the casualties. So this really hurt. This was supposed to be something that we could repeat every turn and not have costs. in reality, the gem loss rate is completely unsustainable. It's a terrible deal. We killed no commanders. We only killed 4 sacreds. Like, the loss of the infantry will hopefully give him pause, but the reality is that's just not a trick that will work unless we find a way to block better, which just won't happen. Now, we have a caster here geared for that sort of thing with a Ring of Returning, but the reality is with Protection 5, there's not enough time to Iron Skin there's not enough time to Iron Skin and cast before hit, and without Iron Skin, I think you die instantly before you got the Ring of Returning off, because it's 18 hit points and only 5 prot, so a knight will probably kill you with 1 attack. And if you don't get Wind of Death off, so if you don't have time for two spells, what's the point? So I'll do some more testing in single player with this configuration, but I have a feeling that I'll end up transferring this to a Koya once I finish recruiting one, and I am recruiting one now. One's about to come out. I'll gear a teleporting Koya with the iron helmet that's currently protecting my god. Where's his armor? He's missing his armor. I'll need to get him some armor. Switch that out, give him a different helmet, give him some armor, and get a teleporting Iron Skin already Koya with a Ring of Returning and the gear to cast Wind of Death with pen items. And if we eventually go to war with Tenchi, that's going to be a great way to take out his mages. So the engagements on the Ashdod sphere were not great, but we did withdraw from Mir, so we withdrew to Spire of Ascension and Letitia, and we will continue withdrawing. We will not engage. Our maxim actually has been not to engage Ashdod's Sacred Armies. I've seen what they can do, so we are not engaging the Oakland's force. We are not engaging the Mir force. Ashdod looks like just chaff, but we're not going there because there's always a chance that the Sacred's stack will double back. In my ideal world, there's 2 things that can happen with this force. The first is that he attempts to move towards Ripewoods and take it, in which case Rod here is moving in. Rod will get some additional gear. And Rod, now that we have Evo 7, is going to cast Firestorm in defense, and we're just going to hold bottle with the right collection of units, the huge collection of chaff and some fire resistant sacreds that we have. We're going to bottle up, throw some fire resistance down using our Enchantress here, who I have boosted. She'll get fire resistance, so the sacreds will go to fire resistance 15, the normal people will go to fire resistance 5 plus their natural prot, which is not great, but it's better than what Ermor will have, and we'll let them burn to death. We're discouraging that by having plus 75 army size on an army of Green Lions, so I'm hoping he perceives that as a huge stack of Green Lions and is discouraged from attacking, and instead sees a need to go right and relieve himself from this giant Tianqi army, because I'd like someone other than me to do some fighting at this point. I am expending tremendous wealth and resources and time demolishing Ermor for the benefit of everyone else, because I know it's the right thing to do and there's immense pressure to do it, knowing I'm going to be stabbed afterwards. So you know that this is not all about strategy at this point. It's about winning a war because it's the right thing to do, and then we'll worry about winning the game. That said, because Tenchi has a raiding force here, so Tianchi moved in just a small group of infantry, and I really respect Hedalas as a player, and just seeing him, even at this stage in the game, throw these low commitment, cheap attacks which raid successfully. Like, this is nothing fancy. This is the equivalent of one of my Hatun groups in terms of investment, probably a little bit less. But it just comes in, cleans up the limited number of undead, and gets him an extra province, denies any gems that might be there, and gives him more intelligence. He can now see these forts, which gives him great information to allow him to move this force forward. I think there's a giant force here, but I don't know. It's probably time for me to move some scouts back in, which I'm doing, but I didn't want them patrolled out before. Now, because he's here, and because he might be tempted here, we are moving a significant force of Supaya to try and lock down this throne province. And we're doing that because at the end of the day, I want to win the game. And if we currently have 6 ascension points, we're close to this Ulm one, which isn't forted yet. We know that's a 1-pointer. So we know in an emergency we can take that to go to 7. If this is a 2-pointer, which I suspect it is because of the click-through of the thrones I've done on previous turns, that gets us to 9, which means we only need 1 more 2-pointer to win. And I think there is a 2-pointer here, which Rus will probably take before we can do anything about it. and there's a 2-pointer here. And if we take this province, let me just check that. Yeah, it's the Crystal Throne. If we take this province, we will totally be in striking distance at 0 notice, and it'll be deniable because we'll be withdrawing armies from Ermor up through this corridor. We'll be around here, so we'll be in a position if we want to make a play for this throne, and that would be a play, probably a mixture of stealthed condors trying to lock down the surrounding provinces with a good mage core that goes in for a 1-turn crack, and probably teleporters to mess things up around the place, and so many gems that we can survive several turns of gem baiting. But we can ship more gems in from Calum at that point. Scouts can jump that and keep us supplied. So that's probably our ultimate throne rush strategy. Is probably going to be a play at the Crystal Throne while after we have secured whatever throne this may be. The fact that Ermor never claimed it, I don't want that, I want this, makes me think it's the throne probably of misfortune, because one of the few good scales they have is sorry, video cut for a moment. One of the good scales they do have is luck. Misfortune would hurt them probably more than the pearls would, so they never claimed it. So I want it. I'm going to lock it down just so Herdalas doesn't, and we'll ship in more reinforcements later. The Letitia troops will come into Spire of Ascension. Spire of Ascension has a Well of Pestilence. Now, we have the opportunity to storm. This fort's broken, and we could bring down this temple, we could get this great silver mine, and just clear this out as a threat, but we're not going to. Instead, we are jumping just about everything onto Ermor from there, except for one priest who's going with there to cast mass protection on the Sapphire. He goes Z, so his time is numbered, but everyone is going in, complete with their supply items. We're doing the same thing over here. Only one commander is storming, and this is about economical use of force. We don't need all of this storming this fort. I don't think there's much in there. So with Divine Blessing and Arrow Fend and nothing in the way of other supporting magic, like imagining we're back on turn 20 or something, I think a group of Condors and some chaff can take this fort. They'll take more losses than if we went in with this full magical support, but I think they'll take it, and that'll just destroy this temple here in some bay. It has no other value. There's no gems, no income, but taking it will destroy a temple and mean we can stuff it with Hatun and deny some sort of mobility to this army here. And of course, a temple is a death gem as far as Ermor is concerned. So we'll take that, but everything else, including our scout carrying the gems, but not the scout who's emptied his collection of gems, is going to move onto Ermor. These troops here in Ograthon are not moving to Ermor. They could, because they're still supply usage -3, but there is a possibility that if Ermor imagines that I might do this, he moves this entire stack here, and because there's limited mage support in this stack, he might have an intercept battle where it determines whether or not we fight in Ermor and Ograthon, and we may end up fighting in Ograthon, and if we do, I will lose this stack, complete with an Earthquake Caster, an Inca, which of course will kill a Koya, which I don't want, and a good chunk of troops. I think I'd still handle it, but the losses would be bad. So we're going to avoid that, and we're going to keep up the strategic momentum by moving that group to one fort, 1-turn pop listless lands, and hopefully assault that and deny him another temple and another death gem. And in so doing, secure our position in Ermor's central heartland, having originally begun this as an attack in the Ashdod sector. We're using our ability to transition into the Ermor sector. He may reclaim Durland this turn. That's one death gem. Look, I'll deal with it. I don't have the troops there to move onto it. I'm also not moving anything onto Zemaki in case he doubles back and doesn't move in patrol. Ermor ultimately is the goal. Ermor is the goal because his Oracle is there. If I kill his Oracle, quickness goes offline. I also imagine a lot of his researchers and summoners are there. So if we can take Ermor, if we can take the Unholy Sepulchre, and it's 9 death gems, and kill the Oracle, I think we will have done critical damage to Ermor. This is where he's recruiting his sorceresses, his Jade Sorceresses, who are his Foul Vapor casters. I used to really fear them, however now I have Serpent's Blessing up, and I'm less concerned as long as they're fighting my main stack. Still, would like to go take that before, for example, Relay does, because that would allow me to get reliable Water Nature Cross Path, which I can then use to cast Veil Vapor myself now that I have Serpent's Blessing. So, what is our setup facing Ermor? Giant blob of units, as you can imagine. Hutton Runa up the front, and that group of Hutton Runa right at the front. Group of Lancers at the back. Groups of Sacreds intended to bait any attack rear and hanging around the mages. Big group of Sun Guards, and then mages scattered around. Usual intermix of hold and attack rear, hold and attack closest, hold and attack nothing to spread things out. Every commander has at least some bodyguards, depending on where they're coming from. And then we have a kill team that's currently set to hold and attack cavalry of 40 Sun Guards, and this is intended to king hit his Sacred Cavalry if it rushes forward to try and do damage after our Huttuns have taken off and with our mages still in position. So if he tries to come forward and massacre our mages, it's their job. It's these guys' job. These double experienced star, 15 attack. There'll be 17 attack once they're blessed. These guys' job to stop the cavalry in their tracks. And that's more or less it. It's just a whole bunch of troops, but we're throwing a whole bunch of magic. So we got Fog Warriors, followed by a whole bunch of I forget the word for a moment. Mass spell that banish. There we are. Mass banish at level 3. So yeah, that stings undead. We got mass protection, followed by personal regen and purifying water. Personal regen to keep him alive in case anything goes up that does damage over time. I just don't want our vulnerable humans dying. Communion Master Phoenix Pyre Fanaticism. He'll get Fanaticism because he'll be buffed by the Communion. The reality is, given the situation, he doesn't need the Crystal Shield. I should have handed that off, but I didn't. And then he goes into Purifying Water. And he'll be casting Purifying Water at Holy 6. And he'll be casting it at Holy 6 because I have gone over to an 8 Communion Slave Communion at this point. I'm using 8 235 gold mages as Communion Slaves because we combined both our stacks. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You got some sneaking scouts here who are set to retreat in case they're found. They're carrying the gem reloads because I expect I will be gem baited, but I can't afford not to cast all this in case he moves and patrols, especially with his god, because an army wipe, the small chance of losing this collective power would be so dramatic that it's worth paying the gems knowing I will be gem baited in order to guarantee it doesn't happen. So we're throwing Earthquakes. I think we've got 3 Earthquakes followed by Banishment. We have turn 1 anti-magic. Turn 1 anti-magic in case he has researched Wind of Death and is going to try and Wind of Death us. Condors are only magic resistance 8, I think, naturally. Yep. Magic resistance 9 because we're in Drain Scale. So they'll go up to magic resistance 13, which is much better odds of surviving Wind of Death because they've got relatively short ages and good hit point pools, but Wind of Death would hurt them, so we're going to avoid that. Power of the Spheres, Will of the Fates, it's going up again. I love Will of the Fates, it's super expensive, it requires 4 Astral Pearls. Now, she needs 5 Astral Pearls to complete her script, 2 of them will come from that, so it'll pay 3 of these pearls will go. That gives her enough to do the script next battle as well, but she'll need a reload to guarantee that she can survive a gem bait and storm next turn. But we're carrying reload, so it's fine. All the Ucklers will be doing Banishment spam. They'll be doing that better because there's a Divine Channeling later down this list. Here's where the Divine Blessing happens. Don't forget this. After I sent this turn in, I was at work and I thought I forgot the Divine Blessing. You don't want to forget Divine Blessing. It would have ruined this. We've got Relief and Serpent's Blessing coming in from what will be a Nature Forecaster with a good chunk of Nature Gems. And a Cornucopia, so the Cornucopia will give 2 temporary gems, and that'll pay for Relief and Serpent's Blessing. So she shouldn't drain her nature gems, which is good. Summon Earth Power. Okay, so we're doing some buffs down here. Earth Power, Strength of Giants, more buffing. Strength of Giants, again, all about the offense, and we haven't. That's right. I'm not doing the 3rd Earthquake, only 2. And we've got Divine Channeling here, so this will turn all those Ucklers into Holy 2s, and Holy 2 is much more effective banishment than Holy 1. It's bigger AoE. If you look at it for a moment, it'll take the AoE from 6 to 9, it'll take the damage from 2 to 3 under the base, but also down here, if you damage them, it then does it'll do 7 armor piercing plus a dice instead of sorry, it'll do 4 instead of 1 plus the dice. That's a big difference. They'll be wearing some armor, but yeah. It'll make a difference given we have some Ucklers in the group. And more Strength of Giants and Banishment. So this is our big push on Ermor. We may only hit PD or we may hit Resistance. This is a very carefully calculated attack. The reason it's carefully calculated is I have done the siege numbers as closely as I could. So there is 300 wall integrity here. We estimate, we're very confident there's 1,000 units because we've got scrying. We're going to assume that there is up to 50% more here, and I assumed that the majority in both cases were ghouls, and I came up with a number that I needed more than 1,000 siege strength. I needed something like 1,100 siege strength to break this reliably in one turn. So that's what we're bringing. We're bringing hundreds and hundreds of units, and I sat down and I spreadsheeted it, but especially with the Condors, even post-nerf, having 100 Condors, each contributing 4.4 siege strength, it's 440 right off the bat. I think we'll one-crack Ermor. I think it'll be close, but I think we'll one-turn crack Ermor, even if most of these units are ghouls, and this imagery is wrong, and these long dead are actually ghouls. Which means the turn after this one, we should be storming. We should be storming the city of Eldregate itself and trying to take the Unholy Sepulchre. I would love the Death Gems, and I'd love to take the Quickness Bless offline, because then I can finally deal with these armies. But I think it'll also be a signal for everyone else to get involved at that point. Other than that, usual sort of shuffling for Ermor Wars, we pull the Starving troops back before they can get diseased. So Starving troops come back, new troops go forward into different positions. We'll try and reclaim Neotha. They might die if they go forward. I expect this will move on Bara, so I'm taking what slaves I can and moving to Pythium, because Pythium has the supplies to support just about anything. Other than that, this is all Hutton Runa juggling, with some mage juggling. We continue to kit lanterns. Last turn we built a number of skull staves, so they are now standing ready in reserve. We're also moving 20 sacred reinforcements out this way towards Pythium there, and then the faster sacred group, we're moving the 27 Sapphires and 10 Condors. So that's a good 50 to 60 sacreds that we're moving towards the Pythium sector to reinforce and start to put together something that can fight this if we have mage support. We're recruiting, as usual. Okay, it's the usual priorities. Anything near the front, this is getting a temple and a fortress, by the way, so this will be a major recruitment center. Anything near the front, except for the disease center, gets good mages, and that applies on the Kalian front as well. So they all get Huron priests. Things in the middle that aren't as important get either nothing or Ucklers and things as research mages. The Fire 3 is almost ready. More commanders for ferrying. Huron, and I believe, double commander, because these guys are piling up, and we need to move them out, otherwise we're going to starve, and we don't want to starve in our own forts. So we're moving. That's one of the reasons why we're moving one group here and 50 reinforcements into 275 to avoid the starving problem. Other than that, juggling mages down here, moving around. I'm sending another tranche of gems to Ulm to pay for yet more forging services. Geopolitically, a lot's going on. So Tianchi is now committed to the Ermor War, and I think the ultimate prize that they would be going for would be Ashdod and this throne. I intend to absolutely deny them this throne. I will try to deny them Ashdod, but it's not certain. It would be good if Tianchi suffered some attrition. It's the noble and right thing to do, them joining the war, but I would appreciate if they took some attrition, considering they're the ones I'm probably going to have to rush in order to win the game. Bogarus over here have obviously completed their war with Celeria, and will probably be moving troops to take this. I've emptied this area of scouts for the moment, both because he patrols and because all I really need to know about is the throne at the moment. Ulm has assembled 200 Black Plate infantry here, and I'm told a good group of mages and more troops here. You'd think this is here to help. I think the reality is this is just here to see off Ermor and make sure he doesn't have any ideas. all might not trust me when I say I've got the Ermor War mostly under control, but we'll see. Other than that, he's not moving big blocks of troops up. So I think he might be considering another war by this point, maybe Machako, maybe Vanarus. I think he's really good terms with Vanarus, so it might be that GC is going to get a visit from Ulm soon. Haven't heard anything from Kuryeast, but they do have the Forge of the Ancients up. Don't think there's any other announcements I need to make. So they're probably quietly forging away. Relay, I haven't seen evidence that they're massively involved in the Ermor fight, but we'll see. I've sent the message and basically said, look, if you can land somewhere, do something, do it. The reality is that's probably just going to give them land, but I would like Ermor to lose all of its provinces quickly so their dominion disappears, and we can move on with our lives. Other than that, it's all happening. Our research is we're now going for Alt 9. We're going for 20 Nat Prot Nazcan Sacreds to finally solve our survivability problem. 10 and fire weakness is not enough. So we're going to solve that problem. We're going to go for 20 protection plus fire resistance buffing, and then we're going to just throw Firestorm and everything. So that'll be great. We finally have Serpent's Blessing, so hopefully that'll be a surprise if you set a Foul Vapor's Trap. And I'm going to stress out and wait to see how this goes, because ultimately this is a big throw of the dice. We pumped a lot of gems in, like we got heaps of gem income. We got like 130 gem income or something like that. But we're pouring in gems. We're pouring in turns and turns and turns worth of mages, like really big forces with big booster sets and lots of gem issues and many turns worth of sacred. So cross your fingers and hope good things come of the operation. Okay, yet again Unto the Breach, turn 45, and this turn we had a bit of an anticlimactic battle as we assaulted Ermor. So of course this is our super stack. This is basically the best of the best that we can pull together, including our full, very expensive Communion, and all that it faced was a group of chaff, some long dead, and then a single sorcerer of the Sands. Unfortunately, because the Sorcerer of the Sands was there gem baiting, I believe he did personal flight and then retreated. This was just a straight gem bait. That's perfectly fine. We brought enough gems on our mages and with reloads to survive multiple baiting attempts. Gem baiting in Dominions is a hard one. It's very easy to do as long as you're willing to spend a little bit, and it's very hard to counter. The only way to really counter it is to put your major buff spells right at the end of the script and to have something that will kill the opposing mages very early in the script. So I might have some attack rear jumpers on immediate attack from now on, but even then that won't stop all my mages from spending their gems if they're casting early spells. However, I don't really care. I've got the gem income to do it at the moment. I mean, a quick count, 40... 61, 71, 80, 90, 100, 110, 135, 145, 149, 149 plus 4 blood slaves. I'm doing pretty well on gems. So I'm just going to keep feeding in. I've emptied the still got scouts carrying some gems, but I've emptied a lot of the reserves off onto the mages because this turn we're going to be storming the castles. In particular, that meant earth gem reloads for the earthquake casters. And making sure there's enough pearls to get Will of the Fates off. And of course, where's the Nature Caster? Nature Caster, of course, has the 2 temporary gems. This is another way to counter gem baiting, is to have, for relevant schools, good gem gen items on your mages so that if gems get baited, they're renewable anyway. So, everyone's geared, and we're storming the castle with our super stack. Obviously, the gem baiting will continue to sneak. So that's going to be the highlight of this turn. We'll go over the rest of what happened relatively quickly, and then we'll talk about the plan. But the plan for this turn is basically assault Ermor. So, what else happened? We got dueling raids happening over here. So we took Shem, and they took Hippoboche. So we lost some scouts, they lost some. Hippoboche is more valuable than Shem, but I can't really afford to stay and fight it at this point. I'm massing up Supplier and things now. But really, this is my base camp here. I can threaten Ashdod from Ripewoods. I can hold up the walls basically infinitely from Ripewoods. I've got a Firestorm caster now in situ. I've got a Water caster for Warriors of Muspelheim in situ. I just need to get a few more mages in, and we can turn this into another major army. There's some magic support over here as well, where they're storming. Didn't really encounter any major resistance. They sent out one scout to see what was going on. We stayed on the fort, therefore they didn't free it. But, nothing ventured, nothing gained on their part. Tianchi moved in a major army to Verbitre against just a small amount of chaff, which is fine. So they're now in proximity to Red Waste 280. I really hope they take this fight. But so far, Tianchi is like, this is their doom stack. It's a very impressive doom stack, but this is their doom stack. They don't want to lose it. Subtext, they would really like us to do all the fighting, so could we pretty please continue to do so? Up north, series of battles. Stormed Arnbeg with just crap to kill the small amount of stuff that was inside, and it did it. So look, with enough Hartoon Runa, you too can storm fortresses full of not many defenders, but that's okay. We did have a few spearmen in there, and these were also relatively veteran Hartoon Runa, so they had better morale and decent leaders. Anyone following this guy probably would have run away. But you need to learn as Nazca, if you want to use him to maximal extent, I think, how to use Hartoon Runa effectively. We took Light Hills. Light Hills was a critical province for us. Light Hills is a critical province because it's in range of 55. And 55 is one of our throne rush options if we decide to go that route. I'm seriously considering it. 55 is in our targeting zone, as is Vanarus's throne on 73. But we could only make that with Condors and high movement units. We couldn't bring Hartoon Runa from 86, but we could probably do a stealth team from here to here, which would be a hey surprise, guys. Orm's throne is obviously on the cards at Bakar because it's still not forted, and then there's Relays thrones that are also on the cards. Just thinking ahead. Every game of Dominions, you've got to think, do I have the possibility to win the game? And if yes, you've got to switch your strategy towards that. At the moment, we're still playing for material and diplomacy, but with a real motive of getting thrones. So we've locked down Eagle Ridge Mountains. That was another interesting battle this turn. So we attacked Eagle Ridge just with what we could throw together, and this was really just in case Tianchi came. So there was a decent amount of chaff here, but we had mass protection, blessed Suppliers, with some experienced stars too. So 19 defense, ethereal, protection 10, quickness. Now some long dead horsemen did break through, but Huron Priest be Huron, and he summoned some skeletons to get in the way. I think he himself is... No, he hasn't buffed himself. Disappointing. So dust to dust casts to kill a few more. The Hartoon Runa slaves are getting in the way of the long dead horse. There's a few soulless here. He banishes at point blank range and kills his own guy, but not really them. So it's getting really hairy up here. But over there, the Supaya are cutting through basically everything. Now, the Huron Priest does unfortunately die, but we take the province. So, that was disappointing in some ways, because we've now lost the ability to... Well, we can bless with a Holy One, but we've lost the Huron Priest that was here. But we have locked down this province. Now, we're going to leave a scout sieging there, just to hold it down as best we can, and we're going to pull back. The Supaya retreated, I believe. Yes, they retreated as soon as they lost their undead leadership. So they're all here, so we're going to send a mage over here to pick them up. And hopefully he doesn't reassault this, we'll hold the siege. If not, we'll move back onto it. But either way, Tianchi now no longer borders it, or is not in a prospect to border it, so we bought ourselves some time there. Eagle Ridge Mountains is great. Lilium Vale, 1 death, 2 death, some gold, some more gold, and the Throne of Misfortune. So Misfortune 1, which we don't care about, and 4 Astral Pearls. I want it. It would increase our Astral Pearl income by 20%, which, considering we are going for Alteration 9, and we'll hit it, I think, in 2 turns. I think we'll hit Alt 9 in 2 turns. Research is now 2,460 research points per turn. Should be just fine. Now, we stormed Listless Lands, lost 5 Condors and a Hartoon Runa, but we took the fortress. Neotha, he came in, killed another group of Hartoon Runa. So, we're losing, as I said, we're losing about 150 units per turn. Nothing that's really going to phase us. So that was it. We took a few provinces, cracked the walls here, moved into Listless Lands, cracked that. So now we've got to talk about what we're going to do, and then we'll do a roundup of what everyone else is doing. But I'm not going to do much in terms of global happenings until we have finished storming Eldregate. So, this unit here, the Supaya Raiders, moving over here, destroy this temple. This province has 0 income and 1 gem. If he wants to move a force down here, fine. I don't want to fight that with just this. We've seen how easy it is to lose Hurons. And this is a good Huron. This is an E2 Huron. They're always useful. So we're going to jump him over here, destroy that temple. Maybe if he does get hit, alright, but I'll take the risk to raid it and burn this down. Love burning Urmor's temples, because remember, that's a permanent death site. We're not going to storm this fortress. Instead, we're going to combine forces onto Zemike. So by bringing these forces here, we'll have enough to hopefully crack this in one turn. And if this force moves south, we will trap it. Sorry, one sec. Sorry about that. Heaps of interruptions tonight. That's all good. So yeah, this was a rather dramatic battle. The consequences will be felt for a while, I expect. It leaves Asphodel in possession of this fortress, but Machaka is the one with reinforcements most closely by. As it is, Asphodel has some groups here that they could possibly move up, but they have to worry about the surviving... I don't know why the screen is doing that. They have to worry about the surviving Kalian forces here, and they're going to have to clear this random attack of independence if they are to come up and bring reinforcements from down here. So their research core is down here, all those Hierophants and whatnot. They have to bring all their carrion up here. Smoky is in situ. So... we'll see what happens here. Asphodel is looking for a counter to the mass Machakan flaming arrows. He's had a talk to me about that. Now, so I have a deal with Machaka, obviously, but I'm also good friends with Asphodel. And early in the game, right at the start, Machaka was very upfront with the fact that he considered that this alliance still allowed him to talk to Pythium about potential anti-Nazcan tactics. I don't know what anti-Nazcan tactics he shared with Pythium. Clearly they didn't work in retrospect, but I'm going to share mine with Asphodel because they asked. So Asphodel has earthquake capability in Smokey the Carrion Bear. He's a very tough chassis. He's asked for a Ring of Returning to go alongside Smokey, and the plan is if this escalates, Smokey can go into battle wearing a Ring of Returning, buff up, so Earthquake itself is probably not going to get through his prot, and just throw Earthquake repeatedly, and then eventually Machaka will throw something that will get through and damage Smokey, and Smokey will recall to the capital. Once that has killed all of the pygmies and priests and mages, then the Carrion can go in and mop up. So, why are we interested in giving Asphodel a weapon? Because if Asphodel has a weapon, Asphodel is more likely to fight Machaka rather than back off. This keeps Machaka pinned. If Machaka is pinned over here... And I also think Asphodel is going to appeal to Ulm, because Ulm is asking questions about what he would need to do to fight Machaka. So if we can start a big war here, that eliminates 3 potential coalition partners, and without them, I really don't think that anyone else will solo initiate a war against me. So we just need to keep a couple bogged down in their own conflicts. It works perfectly well. I won't dwell too long on the economy. Suffice to say that our income and gems are now superb, where only Ulm can possibly match us in the economy game, where the United States with the economy rolling at the moment. So everywhere we're producing priests to hold up our dominion and to fight Urmor. We're producing Hurons at the battlefront. We're producing where is it? I haven't dropped one this turn. I'm surprised. Normally I'm producing fire 3s here, or the cheap fire mages, because they're really cheap research monkeys, and if they're 45 gold, but they can hold a lantern as well as anyone else. So we've got production running all over the shop, and we're forging Hydraskin armor to get some more water breathing. We're doing a lot of item forging, bags of wine, cornucopias, thug gear. It's really all happening, and as we work our way towards Alteration 9, we're starting to think about how we might gear out a special surprise super combatant, because GC is obviously very good at SCs, and he's talking about putting Well of Misery up now that it's up. he'll have the capacity to go for things like King of Banefires and a whole bunch of undead, which he can thug out, and GC will. Orm's going to be in a position soon to go for Kings of Elemental Earth. Face here is talking about Elemental Air Queens, and I'm talking about actually funding that. I'm not doing it quite yet. One other trait. Yeast has agreed to sell me a Bloodstone. Bloodstones are important because if I throw a Bloodstone on a Earth random Huron with boots and a Staff of Elemental Mastery, I can get high enough, I believe, to cast Iron Walls, which will boost my fortifications up hugely, to 1,250 wall integrity. If you throw, say, 300, 400 siege defense worth of Hartoon Runa, so 300, 400 Hartoon Runa, inside a fortress, in some cases that might mean giving them bags of wine to stack them sky high. 300 to 400 siege defense behind 1,250 wall integrity. No one's going to burn through that. So if we get to a throne rush situation, we're just going to make sure that all of our existing thrones can't be broken in time, so we can concentrate all the rest of our force on the Schwerpunkt, which will be the thrones we are trying to capture. Anyway, I won't dwell any longer. That has been turn 45. I'll be with you in turn 46. Alright, YetAgainUntoTheBreach, turn 46, and Urmor came out to play. So, they chose to sally, they chose not to battle within the fort itself. This is often a good strategy to send out some stuff to gembait to diminish the number of gems that are in the final assault. In this case, he just sent everything in the kitchen sink. This is a grand assembly of chaff and a huge number of lictors, and you can see the lictors are interspersed with the chaff. The intention here is that the chaff will eat a lot of the hits and evocations to limit the lictor quantities, because even a few lictors in amongst the chaff is enough to put down heaps of damage once they're blessed. We've got a whole line of mages. We've got Dusk Elders 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We've got Sorcerers of the Sand with Earth Gems, so expect Earth Gem shenanigan. Lots of Death Gems, that means Shadow Blast is about to come. Line of Blessed Sacreds at the front, so they're going to be the initial rush into my lines before I can get all my buffs up, and then it's just going to be an infantry swarm. In the blue corner, we have the assembled army of Nazca, which is huge, but just looks tiny compared to what Urmor can bring, because he's concentrated more than I have. So you've got our Condors, we've got Sun Guards, we've got a whole bunch of Hartoon Runa. Not as many as I'd like normally, but because we're limited by supply items, this is as many as I can bring. Lancers and my mages are all interspersed. Critically, you've got important things like the Enchantress, the Inca. Everyone is geared. I haven't gone through the gearing of my individual mages, but suffice to say that people are geared to the nines. We've got astral boosted Koyas, who will be communion leaders. We've got baby nature mages for doing the small stuff, while the bigger nature mage, so she's a Thistle Mace and Crystal Shield, so she's boosted up to high heavens, and she's got a cornucopia and a whole bunch of gems, and she's water boosted, so she's flexible. She can cast all sorts of stuff. More astral boosted Koyas. We've got a small communion that's about to fire off. Let's see how it goes. The chaff versus the bird blob. Alright, so straight away, Quickness Cavalry charging forward. There go all the blessers, and here come the Shadow Blasts. As the Shadow Blasts are coming in, you can see he's put Foul Vapors up. I've put Relief up, anticipating Rigor Mortis, which hasn't gone up yet. Now, the Shadow Blast is coming through, carving a hole. It's dispelling Fog Warriors in a lot of places. Oh, and there go my Earthquakes. Okay. We missed the dramatic moment. In fact, I might actually deliberately watch this battle and look at Urmor. So he throws Shadow Blast, it does a lot of damage, but Fog Warriors goes off just before it lands, which mitigates some of the damage, and the Hartoon Runa eat most of it anyway. But both sides form a communion. He throws his evocations. Both sides get their quick buffs off, so Fog Warriors will keep me alive against the non-sacreds for a bit, and the Hartoon... And there goes Earthquake 1, Earthquake 2. Bang. Okay, so we just dropped a couple of Earthquake drops, and it massively diminished the chaff. And now our birds are jumping in. Okay, so we've scripted a mixture of blocking birds who are here to fight the cavalry because they're set on attack cavalry, knowing this rush was coming. The Sun Guards are there to kill them. Okay, Will of the Fates is now dropped. So Will of the Fates is going to increase our survivability even more. So you can see, look at this. This is insanity. This is a Condors. Condors. Fractional gem Condors that are trading with lictors. And are successfully killing them because these are 10 prot lucky Condors, and lucky Condors are much more survivable. Anyway, so now it's a general melee has broken out. The cavalry has more or less been contained. This is all that's left at this point. life after death went down on our end, which means that when our units die, you'll see these long dead souls around the place. That's because whenever we're dying, we're reanimating, and that includes mages who reanimate with people who keep their paths, which is just incredible. So, and now you can see I'm finally at the end of my script. I'm dropping rocks on the lictors, who are of course the last things standing. Now, luck will protect you from gifts from heaven 75% of the time, so I wasn't worried about the danger close implications of this. Now, finally, having cleaned up the cavalry, the units come forward, and this is important because now the Fog Warrior 21 Prot Quicken Sun Guards, who do triple damage to undead, will demolish these guys really quickly because they do like 50 damage when they hit a lictor with them, and that was it. That was it. So let's have a look at the results. An Acolyte, 2 Archbishops. Archbishops is very expensive. They reanimate lictors, but he had to bring them for blessings and buffs. 3 Censors, 4 Dusk Elders, a Jade Sorceress, 12 Mound Kings, 2 Priests, 4 Sorcerers of the Sands, and, I don't know, 1,300 units? So, representing about 130,000 zombies. Sorry. Yeah. Representing about 130,000 zombies of various sorts, 61 units of Knights of the Unholy Sepulchre, 70 lictors. So this is his sacred core. This was what he could throw together. This is 70 plus 60. This is a huge win right here. The rest of this shit I don't care about too much, except for the fact now that it's gone, it can't hold up the walls anymore. But the walls were, of course, breached. If you look on my side, so we lost 2 Ucklers. Not sure how we lost those Ucklers. Maybe to Knights, because I did place some of them further forward. They both became Soulless Warriors. Those Soulless Warriors, they're blue. You can't see their paths, but if you see outside of battle, they are the Ucklers. They can't fly anymore, but they still have the Ucklers' paths. We lost 48 Spearmen, 47 Condors. Ouch, but we traded for a lot more Ermorian Sacreds. 1 Condor Warrior, 108 Hartoon Runa, 50 of which reanimated. It doesn't matter which of these units reanimated. They still reanimated as the same thing if they're not mages, and we lost 13 Sun Guards. So all in all, 167 net casualties. It's actually a bit worse than that because the game thinks that this is as good as not losing these. It's just not the case. But amazingly, so we can see the Condors did a lot of work. We can see this is the kills being shifted over from a different category, which is unfortunate. Sun Guards did a little bit of work, but almost all of their work was on the Sacred Cavalry, and also why their casualties are so high. They were fighting the best of the Ermorian army, because that was where I knew I could use their abilities to the utmost. But look at these Hurons. 939 kills from the Earthquake casters. So there was then a follow-up battle in the Fortress of Ermor, and there was not much left. There were just some ghouls that he left behind, and that was more or less it. The forces that retreated because this had been taken would have tried to retreat to other provinces. We earthquaked once, but there we are. Now, before I look at anything else, let's just see a new famous hero, Stories of Rocco's Brave Deeds. I wish I'd renamed this guy because I should have seen this coming. In the Hall of Fame, at second from last, but with 698 kills, is this Huron Priest. What a champ. Now, he's got a few extra hit points now. That doesn't really matter much. He'll take a turn for him to gain up to it. But yeah, close to 700 kills. Close to 70,000 undead slain by him striking the earth. And that was the theme of this turn. We struck the earth and we took the capital of Ermor. Now, those forces that tried to sally, normally if they sally while you take the fort, they will retreat to a surrounding province. However, we took Durlan, Zemeke, and Listless Lands, so they would have been cut off, and those remaining mages will be dead on retreat. Let's talk about what happened elsewhere. Northeastern Front. This is just a raiding story right now. We're in a holding pattern, but Tianxi did move their army into Red Waste, and we can see this big Tianxi blob, 133 Sacreds, Celestial Masters there, but really we're here for the 20 Imperial Geomancers and the Rock Drop Communion. Trying to convince him to take this fight, but which I think he could win. I think he could win against both these forces combined, but I'm not sure Herdalas is willing to go with it. I have a feeling he might pull back and expect me to take the fight, which is unfortunate. Anyway, he raided me in Griffa. I'm still holding 275. He raided me in Boat Eater. Now, this is just I'm happy with this being just raiding back and forth. That's fine. It pins down forces. It keeps him busy, and I'm reinforcing this area much quicker than he can. But we'll play the counter raiding game. So we'll counter raid Griffer. We'll take some sacreds. We'll counter raid with Chaff here and here because these are worthless, but I want to keep them active because it slows down his movement. We expect the Boat Eater force will raid here because I don't think it'll come and try and relieve here. I think being a human, he'll move here where he doesn't see anything. So we're going to move these forces off to the Sacred Lake and intercept and kill them, and then we can retake Boat Eater. We did assault Underhome this turn as we work our way from east to west. And this was a relatively simple assault. You can see the nice Ermorian underwater castle, no real defenders, and the Sacreds are just going to go in and kill them. And because it's underwater, he doesn't even get archers on the wall. So there they are. They died literally round one of the drop. Let's read another story in what happened in Letia this turn. Yep, so that was just him raiding us. That's fine. Northwest. So, in the northwest, you'll remember we retook 307, so we moved forces in here to retake it. We now hold it. I'm going to try and hold this on an ongoing basis because there's two gems here, and I like gems. I like gems a lot. Gems are the basis of my economy, even though my economy is huge at 7,700 gold a turn. 3,400 upkeep. Gems are where it's at right now. Zemike is under siege and the walls are broken. He did not re-raid Great Mountain, I have a feeling, because he's under siege in 317. We took Banded Hills, where we had a bounce with Relay. So we took the province from Ermor, and then Relay sent this group of chaff, basically, to raid the province from Ermor. So we get to see how we match up against this. And the answer is very well. We drop Blessed Sapphire on their units, and there's not much they can do at this point. We chop through the chaff quickly enough that... I didn't mean to see that. I wanted to go to the summary. Yeah, so we lost 3 Sapphire, killing 74 units, including a Trader Prince. He had the Magic Meteorite Trident and good stats, so I imagine he's probably... Actually, no, it was just ordinary guys who killed Sapphire. So, yeah, he was unlucky there. So we took Banded Hills, not useful, 11 gold, but does help us band off Relay from taking too much of Ermor's land. Gave us a clear run at Dural Woods. Dural Woods is under siege, but is not yet broken because we just didn't have enough here to do it. And we're starving here. We use 34 supplies, there's only 9 here. So we'll move more ghosts in, and then we might, when we assault, we'll take the Hartoon Runa away because they're useless at their diminished morale level, and go from there. We took all these as expected. He threw us off this fort. I'll summarize the rest of what happened, and then we'll talk about what we're doing. This is just a continuous game of trading places. Now, he pushed his big army, this big army, which is nowhere near as powerful as what happened at the cap, but still a very powerful force, into 231, deeper into my territory. My plan right now is not to confront it. So if I wanted to fight this, I'd have to pull something back. I'm not going to. I'm just going to let it run rampant, sacrifice whatever I need to, follow it, shadow it. If you remember how we fought Pythium, we're going to fight Ermor the same way. We're just going to let his army move around while we pick his nation apart, because we're birds. Moving to the south, you can see the constant stream of reinforcements moving towards the Kalian front. We've discovered a scout. That was nothing problem. We discovered some scouts. That was fine. Calum. We captured Calum. There wasn't much in there, so I won't show it. It was just a couple of mages, 6 mammoths, who accounted for almost all of the kills, and I scripted it so I had the Hartoon Runa on attack large targets, the idea being if there were mammoths inside, the Hartoon Runa could get trampled while everyone else did the important stuff, and that's exactly what happened. The Hartoon Runa got trampled by the mammoths, and everyone else went and killed the leaders, and the mammoth routed, and the Hartoon Runa did in fact kill the mammoths, because Hartoon Runa can kill stuff. They just die in the process, which is fine by me. So that's why our economy has jumped. We took Calum. There's 330 income there, plus all of the gems. There would be more, except for the fact that it has previously been BBC'd by Asphodel. So Thanks, Smokey. Denied us some gold, but that's okay. We'll build a temple there. We'll turn this into a bit of a fort. Light Hills is all good. Just killing scouts as you do. I'm trying to deny as much knowledge as possible around this area. No sign of movement from Asphodel or Machaka, except for the fact that Machaka came up and is now staring daggers at the Asphodelian army there. And that is more or less it for our movements. So, what are we doing now? We've taken Ermor. I'm going to be brief here because we'll do a big introspective and talk about planning next turn. But for now, suffice to say, we're moving. We're going to take 309. We're going to secure that throne. We're going to try and regain some control of the raiding war here just to control space and see if Qianqi takes this fight here as we start to fortify these thrones. Our research is going really well. We will hit Alt 9 next turn, and at that point it's time to wish. So we're going to get our, there's some booster items we lent to Orm, we're getting those back because we need to boost air tax and Mordor to wish levels. We're going to need to alchemize some pearls if we want to wish, alchemize into pearls if we want to wish straight away, but I'm also trying to trade for pearls, so we'll see how that goes. That's not finalized as of the time of recording. Other than that, just streaming more troops and positioning more and more troops near Calum to feed into this front. And if they're not required, they can be used. Trust me, they'll be useful here. This looks like it's going to be a flashpoint. Orm has said Asphodel has contacted them and is trying to convince them to go in on Machaka. And he's talking to Vanarus, or is planning to talk to Vanarus about attacking Machaka. All of which is music to my ears. I won't get involved. And if Machaka is attacked, I may actually have to get involved for no other reason than to protect my mate. But strategically, the fact that these guys are looking here means that unless they're pulling a big scam, some sort of Muskerovka campaign, they're not planning to attack me, and that's literally all I need right now. So that's a really quick summary of this turn. The highlight, of course, is Old Eldregate has been taken. We'll storm some castles this turn, so we'll reduce both of those temples to rubble. We'll move some troops up here to break it and assault it. We'll ambush them and kill some raiders, lock down a throne to assault it next turn, hopefully assault this. Like, the Ermorian fortresses are absolutely falling like dominoes at this point, and that's the way I like it. So we'll see if we can keep going that way. I'll do a quick run through to see if there was anything out important. You can see what I'm trading from Orm now. I'm getting light thug gear for critical mages. So the idea here is if a mage is casting critical battlefield buffs, I don't want random arrows to kill them. So we're talking Armor of Knights. These fires in a jar are for our Firestorm casters. We bought a Skull of Fire from Machaka, which saves us a crafting turn. I know he's making gems on it somehow, but it's also nice just to trade with your friends. Getting everything in position, ignore the blood hunting, then I have no blood hunters. That was, whoops. I hope I noticed that. I'm not sure if I noticed that. I hope I've noticed that. That's not something I've been doing on an ongoing basis. Should I be blood hunting? I don't know. I'm going to give some thought to that. I'm not sure if I should be blood hunting with non-blood people, like whether it's too late for me to try and break in. There was an assassination attempt. Floatcat Horrors did in fact kill a Malky Priest. He killed 2 of the 3, but wasn't good enough to kill the rest. And then we'll quick end click through these. So we saw that battle. Killed an Ermorian raiding force. Qianqi attacked Ermor. We killed Ermor. We killed Relay in the same province. This is his counter raiding force. It includes 5 Sacreds in Griffa. Igorous Mountains counter raid from him. Army there, which we saw. We conquered this one from Ermor. We conquered Zemike from Ermor. Elkland was taken and undefended. Should have put a PD point there. Whoops. Took that. Had been taken by. So you can see there's a lot of raiding going back and forth, but it's raiding's happening in his land where nothing's worth anything really anyway, so I don't care. I'm doing it just to keep his forces busy, locked down, and to control their movements. Raising some temples as we assaulted, so we took that province as well. We killed 236 ghouls here. In a turn we didn't take Eldregate, this would be a more significant battle to look at and be like, hey, look how well my troops and scripting and everything are working, but we took Eldregate, so I don't care. And of course we took Ermor, Underhome. There was an assassination attempt at Ghost, we succeeded. And that was about it. Independence, and then there's a whole bunch of scout intercepts. So, the capital of Old Ermor has fallen. we now have its 9 death gems per turn, taking our income up to 34 death gems a turn. Plus, it's got a permanent gold lock, so we will get some income from it, even though nobody lives there. With Urmor gone, notice his god wasn't there, by the way. His god has clearly teleported out, so we'll find his god somewhere in here, I'm sure. Oracles can teleport, and they can teleport from inside of a siege fortress, so... well, Nosy Rat's too dumb to fall for the letting the god get killed trick. But we've robbed him of 9 death gems per turn. We've robbed him of a whole bunch of his mages and his lictor reanimators in the form of the archbishops. I think we've broken the back of the Urmorian spawn and war machine. He still has fortresses. He still has big armies that I don't want to fight. I want someone else to fight them. But we'll go into the details of our plans on that next turn. So for now, cheers.